Okay, well, welcome back to the 2024 KENNEKA Jenkins anniversary timeline of the events broken down. This is going to be for September the 8th, and this video is going to cover a little bit longer timeline. It's going to cover from 8 p.m. until midnight because there was less texting going on and more activity. So we're going to cover all of it within that time frame. I hope you learn something new, or maybe it'll refresh your memory for something you've forgotten. RIP to KENNEKA, condolences to her family, and I hope you enjoy this. All right, welcome back to part 3 of this series. I'm going to recap the tail end of part 2, where we have this text from Zahari, who KENNEKA and Monifa were supposed to go to the movies with, that was made at 7:27, where Zahari tells KENNEKA, call back right now, which means they had been calling and speaking to each other on the phone as well. And then just a few seconds later, she tells her to hurry up with the crying emojis. So, like I said, there have been phone calls in between. We don't have the records of the phone calls. Then, over 2 hours later, Zahari tells her at 9:45, she texts and says, y'all still going to the movies, which means y'all as in KENNEKA and Monifa. So Zahari had to have been aware that they were together, and the plan, as far as Zahari knew, was that they were coming to meet them at the movie theater. All right, now, this is another shot that I had gathered years ago when there were so many arguments going back and forth in the community about what was the correct time, blah, 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 things like that. So one of the things that I did personally, since I was fortunate enough to have downloaded all the footage, I was able to compare the footage that we have where you could see the outdoors, which is going to be the lobby and the southwest entry footage, excuse me, to where we could see when it was getting dark outside, when it was getting light outside, and compare it to what the almanac was showing for that time and date back in 2017. So as you can see here, on September the 8th, 2017, right around 8 o'clock, 8 to 8:30, this time right in here, is where it started getting dark. Therefore, what that tells us, now I've broken down the little, whether they're Snapchats or mini lives, whatever you want to call them, of when the girls, KENNEKA, Maya, Monifa are in the car, when Irene's in the car, things like that. I've broken those down to within the half hour to hour of when those took place, but we're not at that time frame yet. So for now, I can say this: we know by looking through the windows of the vehicle, it was already dark outside. It wasn't like the sun was still going down, anything like that. So that pretty much sounds like common sense, but when you have so many conspiracy theories running around, it can sometimes taint our logical thinking or our critical thinking skills. So, like here, if I'm reading this correctly, 8:14 to 8:49 is when it's almost dark. And then at 8:49 p.m., it's dark outside. It's black outside. Okay? I don't know how else to put that. Now, it's come up again about how do we know which is the right time, the left hand or the right hand. I know many of you uh, do understand it, but there are so many more out there that don't understand it. Now you can see here on this camera of the southwest entry, you have a right hand and a left hand time clock. On the lobby, you only have the right hand. You, on both though, on all of them, you will have one down here on the media player. The one on the media player will always, when it's on the media player, match up on the right hand side, whatever it's saying, whether it has a left clock showing or not. Now, KENNEKA actually answers her back 4 minutes later. She says, if they ain't sold out when I make it around there. This is at 9:39 p.m. Friday night. I had a hard time making this this little wallpaper because as I was making it, I realized that according to the information that we've been given, this is the last time Zahari ever heard from KENNEKA. Was that text right there. Unless, other than, like I said, the phone calls, which obviously they had to have had phone calls because nowhere in here do we see KENNEKA and Zahari talking about the movies. But here, you know, she's saying, are y'all still going to go, you know? But that's what she said. At 9:39, she says, if they ain't sold out yet when I make it around there. Now, the other reason why I say that KENNEKA may have stopped by Irene's house is because, I'll show you when I get to that picture, but here, let's see, what time was that other one? 9:30, 9:34, and 3 seconds later, Zahari asks, she says, are y'all still at your house? Of course, she doesn't get a response, unless she may have called her. All right. So, we may not know exactly what time KENNEKA picked up Monifa. We just know what time Monifa texted and said that she was ready out on the porch. But if you look at this microwave time right here, it appears to say 9:02. And you see Irene dressed in her birthday party outfit. It's kind of blurry the more I zoom in. Can't really zoom in on the watch, but it appears it says 9:02. Now that means that Irene was still at home, and there were rumors of that was said that Irene and KENNEKA had talked in person, face to face. I think it was the 2020 interview, live, where she said, I told you and Monifa was standing right. I told KENNEKA and Monifa you were standing right there when I said that you were not invited to the party. I think that's the word she used. So, this photograph is easy to say it was more than likely taken because, like I said, most of microwave clocks don't have the right time on it. Some do, some don't. It appears that it says 9:02 on there. If that is accurate, then that would run in sequence with what's going on, that we compare up other things in chronological order. So this would have been maybe the time that she stopped by there, and we know at 9:39 she's Zahari had texted her back, well, are you still at your house? But we don't know what time she got to Leonora for her to do her hair and stuff. We only know that she left there around 11:30ish from Teresa's anyway. So these are the things that, like I said, that has been collected over 5 years, that we take that information and put it together with the information that's in the case file, along with things that the kids have said along the way, and put that with some critical thinking skills to come up with the conclusions that we come up with. Okay? Now, I think everybody, including myself, pretty much was always mistaken on this text right here. The one that says at 11:11, damn, I want to come through, shorty, but I'm with Bree Bree, and I know y'all don't get along. We always thought that was KENNEKA and Irene. Guess what? It's not. How do we know that? Because it's not on KENNEKA's phone dumps. And we don't have a phone dump, like I said, from Maya. Now, in this police little summary, he doesn't mention it, but in another one it will, and I'll point it out. But in this one here, of course, he says, that they're just talking to Irene about having somebody that she may potentially have an issue with. In other words, they don't get along, like I've been saying. Bree Bree and Irene have hated each other for many, many years. Now, like I said, Maya sent this text to her, and it was, 12 minutes later, Irene answers her back, and she says she can come. Now, her little symbols are those question marks, but it's a little bit blurry. But what this is the female sign. Like you got your male and female signs. This is the female sign. Okay? Now, although through the years, nobody's been able to find out the timestamp on this live of Irene in her car prior to going to the hotel, knowing what we know now, that they did make some stops because they themselves also had gotten some weed and some pills and whatever. They didn't stop to get the Swisher Sweets or Rillos, whatever, because after they get to the hotel, they end up leaving to go and get those. But we do know that they arrived in the lobby of the hotel at 11:46 p.m. So therefore, we know that this short live in her car had to happen way prior to that. And so I'm going to go ahead and stick that in here right now because we know it happened before midnight. She keeps covering up the microphone so you can't really hear her too good. Try it again. Yes, I added that on there because I'm tired of people saying that's what was going on. You see, there's nobody in the car with her.
Problem is just like, I guess it's just fake. Y'all keep doing right.
Okay, now, open Alright, now, for the ones that follow this case that do not live here stateside,